Mount Rainier is physically the most demanding climb in the lower 48 states. Everything that you would find on a Himalayan peak you can find right here 2 hours outside of Seattle.
Oftentimes people will be transformed the first time they climb a big mountain such as Mount Rainier.
I think all climbers struggle with that question of why do you climb. For me, it's an opportunity to challenge myself physically and to challenge myself psychologically. I find it impossible to stay away from the natural world. For me, all of these things combine together to motivate me to spend as much time as possible in the mountain.
The first attempt was on the Fur Finger route that we were post-holing at times up to our thighs in soft snow. We called it a day, came down, decided to give it another shot. Everyone felt pretty good. Unfortunately, Becky just didn't feel like she wanted to go up again, so we started from Paradise and went up to Muir, the three of us, Brian, Becca, and I.
The second attempt, we chose to go by different routes, by the Disappointment Cleaver.
Got to Muir pretty early. We made it, I believe, in 7 hours. It was pretty good. We were in the clouds pretty much the entire way. Once we got to Muir, you could see the entire upper mountain was just encased in a lenticular cloud, so I was kind of worried about that. The next morning, we woke up, had breakfast, and crossed the Cowlitz Glacier through Cathedral Rocks and onto the Ingram Glacier. Camped there. It snowed. We were in the clouds most of the night. We woke up at around midnight and stuck my head out of the tent, and it was just, the whole mountain was just lit up because of the full moon. It was incredible.
Sure enough, I looked outside and it's perfectly clear. The moon lit up the whole glacier, and if you didn't want to, you didn't have to use a headlamp. It was perfect conditions to climb. Made it to the top of the Cleaver and saw the sunrise. I had been watching the sky gradually get lighter and lighter. It really looked like the sky was on fire. It just spread over the whole horizon.
Especially being the first person up the Cleaver that morning and just making fresh tracks in the snow that had fallen the night before. It was incredible. You can't explain the sunrise up there. The pictures don't do it either.
It's just so cool being up high in the mountains. I know in Washington State, Mount Rainier is the highest thing. And when the sun rises, the top of Rainier is the first thing that the sun hits. You know, you suffer a little bit up high in the mountains. And sometimes you're not quite sure why you're doing it, but when the sun rises, it's awesome. And I always like to think that up high, your day is a little bit longer than everyone else. It's a little bit sweeter.
Just looking back and then seeing all these tiny little ants crossing the Ingram Glacier, and we're already up the Cleaver, you know, it was great. It was a good feeling. Took a break on top of the Cleaver, and as soon as we started going again, I noticed, I looked to my left and the moon was gone. Looked back and it was just circling. We continued up, we made it to around 13,000 feet. It was getting really, really difficult to even judge the slope, anything.
13,000 feet. Absolutely no visibility.
It was getting brutal. We were covered in rime ice. To be in a whiteout at 13,000 feet, it was a little hair-raising.
Pushed on to 13.2, and all of a sudden the altitude just hit me like a brick wall with icicles forming on us, and it was miserable. At that point, we decided that given the current conditions, that it was probably a safer idea to go down now while I was still standing up. The summit's optional, but getting down isn't.
Climbing is not so much attaining the summit. A lot of my best climbs have been on unsuccessful climbs, routes where the weather or some other element that I can't control prevents me from getting to the top. For me, it's just about being there. It's being on the mountain, it's being in the natural environment and testing myself to see if I can handle the forces that nature throws at me.
Push your limit a little bit and give it a shot. I know I meet people on the street that 20 years ago, I guided them up Mount Rainier, and they tell me that it was the experience of a lifetime. It was life-changing. If you have a strong desire and are in pretty good shape, you can see what the view looks like from the top.
You can't even compare it. It's gorgeous. The crevasses, the glaciers, it's something you don't get in the States much. It's incredible to stand there and to see everything that's in front of you, and then to look out and you see Adams and Helens and Hood, and it's a different world up there.